Continued. Biscuits. When the biscuit dough is put in the oven, the fat melts and is absorbed by the starch in the flour. Any air trapped in the dough expands and the biscuits rise very slightly. The starch and gluten both set and the biscuit becomes crisp with a melt-in-the-mouth texture. Biscuits should have a pale golden brown colour. Cakes. Cakes are made by the following methods: rubbed in, creaming, whisking or melting. The changes that take place during the cooking of cakes. The air trapped in the mixture expands and makes the mixture rise. The eggs help the mixture to set and add colour. The sugar melts and softens the gluten to make the cake soft. The fat melts and is absorbed by the starch in the flour. If there's a raising agent in the mixture, it gives off CO2 gas which expands when the heat and makes the cake rise. A golden crust is formed on the outside. Pastry. Short crust, flaky, puff and choux are types of pastry. Short crust. The fat melts and is absorbed by the starch in the flour. Any air trapped in the dough expands and makes the dough rise, but because the gluten strands are short, the dough cannot stretch much. The starch and the gluten set and the pastry becomes crisp. The heat gives the cooked pastry a golden brown colour. Flaky and puff pastry. The fat melts and is absorbed by the starch in the flour. The air trapped between the layers of dough expands and pushes up the dough. The water in the dough turns to steam, which also pushes up the dough. The gluten and the starch set the pastry, which becomes crisp and flaky. Choux pastry. The melted fat and water are heated in the pan and are absorbed by the starch in the flour. When the pastry is put in the oven, the water turns to steam, which makes the pastry rise quickly. The gluten and the starch start to set and the pastry turns a brown colour. The choux pastry does not set until the last minutes of cooking. It's important not to open the oven door during this time, otherwise the choux pastry will just collapse. A batter is a mixture of flour, eggs and a liquid, usually milk. There are 3 main types. All are made in the same way using the same main ingredients. The quantity of the liquid varies and this affects the consistency. The 3 types of batter are pouring, a thin batter which makes pancakes, Yorkshire pudding and toad in the hole. Coating, a thicker batter to make pineapple fritters or to coat fish before frying. And tempura, this is a very light batter made from plain flour, corn flour, sea salt and sparkling water, and it's used to coat food before frying in hot oil. Sauces. Sauces are added to food for the following reasons: to add flavour, to add colour, to moisten the food, to bind ingredients together, to add nutrients, to add variety and interest to a dish. The main types of sauces are a basic white sauce called a roux sauce. A roux is the start of it, which is made by melting the fat and adding the flour until a paste is made. This is then cooked off a bit till it becomes more grainy, a bit like sand. The starch in the flour absorbs the fat. Milk is then added. The sauce is heated and the granules swell and cause the sauce to thicken. The sauce gelatinises, thickens. A white sauce can also be made by the one-stage or all-in-one method, where all ingredients are placed in a pan and just heated until it thickens. Cornflour sauce. Milk and cornflour are mixed together and heated until the starch granules absorb the liquid and begin to swell. This causes the sauce to thicken and gelatinise. There is no fat in a cornflour sauce. Other types of sauces include tomato and pesto. A coulis is a fruit-based sauce using soft fruits such as strawberries, raspberries, black currants and blueberries.